Okay, so we're in the Office folder, and we've got a menu item here called Add Daily Question. We want to turn this into a PHP file, what we previously created as an HTML. So question add.php, it's got the start date, end date, question, answer number 1. And of course, when we click on the add another answer, it would give us an option to add that. If we hit the add question, it would submit it all. So let's take a look at what we're going to have here. The main line contains just the division ID equals index, the sidebar, closing that division, and a page end. Let's push that all down to the bottom so we got a little bit of room up here to work. Obviously, the include site login is what's needed in order to validate the user to make sure that they're allowed to add the question. We've seen this before. If there's not any get and there's not any post, then ARR is just equal to n/a. Else if. So if there is some get, then for each get, as a key in the value, we're going to create a key in the ARR array equal to that value. Else if there's post, then for each post as a key, we're going to create the ARR of that key with that particular value. So it's just populating the ARR array if there is a get or a post. Next, we're going to add the JS add question. So that's all the JavaScript related to adding a question. Let's see what that means. Function JS add question. We echo to the end. We see the end way down here in the bottom, followed by a semicolon. What's in between? All that JavaScript that we wrote previously. From script language equals JavaScript all the way down to /script. So that's what's going to be there. It's the simplest way of doing it. Now, moving on past the sidebar, we have an if exclamation point. That means not is set post data start. So if the post data start does not exist, if it hasn't been set, then we're going to get the question info. Let's take a look at get question info. We have that form get question info, but what do we have to do to it? Put all the whole form inside of echo statements, and there's one other thing we haven't done yet. Echo action equals self. We have to define self as the server PHP self. So after we get the question, that's if the date start does not exist, we're going to do that. And for that matter, we would then close our division and page end and exit. So it'll stop everything if it doesn't exist. If it does exist, well, then we're going to insert the question, sending all that post data. So let's see the function insert question with the connection and the array. First it grabs the date start and date end, add slashes to the question, insert into daily questions the date start, date end question values, question, 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 because of course we're preparing the statement. So we prepare the SQL statement, we bind it. In this case we've chosen 3 strings, date start, date end, and question. We execute it. Aha, QID equals get max QID. What this does is after we've created through the insert statement the next record, we want to find out what the ID is of that. So that's the maximum of that particular data table. So get max QID. Select max ID as QID from daily questions. So just finding out the highest ID there is. Prepare that statement, execute it, store the result, bind the result to QID, and fetch it. That's all you're doing, returning QID. Now back to this insert question function. The number is equal to the ARR of num, alright? And then for a loop for x equals 1, x less than or equal to num, x plus plus. So we're going to go around however many times there are there and get that answer equals answer plus the $x. The answer equals the add slashes of that, okay? So whatever we've submitted. Insert into daily choices QID and answer the values. Well, let's prepare this statement. Notice in this case I've chosen SQLA just because they already had an SQL here, so I called it SQLA even though I am done with the ones up above. get my statement A equals con prepare of $SQLA, and it binds those parameters. If the answer is not equal to the null, so it says basically check and make sure there's something in there. If there's nothing in there, I don't want to put anything in here. But if there is something in there, then execute it and add 1 to num answer. Now we haven't looked at that yet. Num answer is actually starting out at 0 over here, and it's just going to count the number of times you actually submitted. The reason it's different than $num is that this is the actual values as opposed to a count of what should have been there in num. Thank you for entering one question and $num answer of answers. Okay, I can live with that.